You're listening to the ESO Network, your station for all things geek.
Hi, I'm Joe Heath.
I'm Toni Heath.
And this is the Watch-A-Thon of Rassilon presents Watch-A-Thon 13. That's the theme.
What's the theme? How's it go? That was uncanny.
Uncanny?
Uncanny how close it was.
To what?
The theme.
Is it? I wasn't even trying to do the theme. Let's play Vince's theme. Today we're going to be talking about Warehouse 13, Season 1, Episode 1, Pilot.
Already off to a great start.
That's what it's called. It's called Pilot, which aired July 7th, 2009, but was in the works since 2005.
Wow.
I learned that. But the current script was ordered in 2007. Just some things I learned on Wikipedia.
Thank you for doing the arduous task of Googling that shit.
And the other things I learned is the first series to debut on SyFy. It was the first SyFy original. Oh. Not the first show on original show on SyFy.
The first SyFy original.
But the first
I
SyFy,
followed.
Yeah, when they changed their name to SyFy and annoyed many people, including me. It was the most watched cable show that night. Third biggest premiere for SyFy after Stargate Atlantis and Eureka. True facts!
You know, I've never watched Stargate Atlantis.
I'd like to, because it's got two people I like on it. It's got Joel State and, oh shoot, I don't remember his name. It's the guy from Nothing and Cube. But he's really funny. He did a movie called Dog's Breakfast or something like that. It was also really good. It had a lot of Stargate Atlantis people in it. I have seen about a season and some change of Stargate.
I just feel like it's...
Have you seen Stargate the movie?
No, I've not seen any Stargate media.
You might like it. Maybe we should watch it.
Okay.
New podcast.
But I feel like I've seen every other SyFy original. So I don't know how I didn't watch Stargate.
I never watched Battlestar.
I watched large parts of Battlestar. My dad used to read the Battlestar comics, and so when the Battlestar TV show came out, he was like, whoa.
Did he watch the original show?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was like very excited for it. It was
my dad watched the original show and didn't like the reboot because he didn't like
comics.
No. Well, I mean, there were comics, but it was originally a show. But my dad...
I remember my dad talking about comics.
I mean, there were comics, I'm sure. But my dad didn't like the reboot because the Cylons...
They didn't look like toasters?
They didn't look like... Cylons are because they have one eye.
I would watch it occasionally when my dad would watch it, and it was one of those shows where, like, before streaming, mm-hmm. If you, like, missed stuff, you just didn't know what was happening. So, like, my poor dad, like, occasionally I would sit and watch it with him, and I'd be like, who's that? What is this? Because I would just watch, like, random episodes. And the only thing that I really remember is fuck Gaius Baltar.
Is that the guy that... Because I haven't seen him. But is that the guy that was on Eureka?
Yes, and he's very, very cute in Eureka.
Is that, like, God from the past?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, our Warehouse 13 podcast is starting strong.
Warehouse 13, that show.
That's all the, like, fun notes I have about it. I will say it's also co-written by Jane Espenson, who I love. I think she's great.
Such a good. Warehouse 13, I mean, before we even do the summary, I can just let you know right now, I adore it. I adore this show, and I adore the cast. Were they ever to do a reboot that may or may not have been hinted at during certain events?
Well, we can talk about that for a second. One of the certain events was Dragon Con that we went to, and I got to somewhat interview Eddie McClintock. Like, it was a room full of people, and we all got to ask questions, and we did an episode about that, which you can listen to. But, that's why we're doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, if they did a reboot.
I would watch the hell out of it. I'd be so excited.
What if they did a reboot but had none of the original cast? None of them.
None of the original cast, but do they have the original writers? Because I might say, I trust them. I'd check it out.
Okay.
You know?
Sure. I wouldn't mind some new cast members. I do think I'd want at least some people back.
I think if they just let, I can't remember her real life actress name, but Donovan. As long as she's in it and does whatever she wants.
She wasn't in this episode.
No. She's not in it for a while.
Claudia. Allison Scagliotti, who was...
who was also at Dragon Con, was delightful.
Yeah, so the episode we're about to talk about, the first episode, there's a couple of, like, people that became, like, regular cast members who aren't in the pilot episode, which is...
We're nowhere near Jinx.
Yeah, Steve Jinx, played by Aaron Ashmore, and Claudia Donovan, who does show up in this season, in the first season. I don't remember when, but she's not in the pilot. There's also H.G. Wells, but she was never... I don't think she was ever, like, a...
regular status.
Yeah, she was always, like, a guest star type of thing, but a recurring character.
Damn H.G. Wells. Imagine explaining something to somebody with no context and being like, H.G. Wells is so hot as fucking that.
Yeah, she is, though.
But she is. Would you like to give the summary, Joseph?
Yeah, I'm going to give a summary of this pilot, which, by the way, was an hour and a half, and I was not expecting that.
No, I
was like, man, this episode is going on for a while.
How far in was it, do you think, before we were like, wait a minute?
I think we were an hour and 1 minute in.
It took us fully an hour to realize that it was a long episode.
Well, yeah, because I mean, if it's an hour, I'd be like, oh, this is just a longer episode. They probably had less commercials. And then by an hour and some change, I'm like, this has got to be like it was a 2-hour premiere, hour and a half after you take out the commercials. Okay, so here is the summary of Warehouse 13, Season 1, Episode 1 pilot. I've written it down. I don't remember what I wrote, so let's find out what it was. After saving the president from a man seemingly possessed by an Aztec bloodstone, 2 Secret Service agents, Micah Bering and Pete Latimer, are reassigned by a mysterious woman named Mrs. Frederick to a warehouse in South Dakota. The warehouse is full of powerful artifacts and ran by another agent named Artie Nielsen, who sends them on a mission to figure out why a college student has unexpectedly beaten his girlfriend. Turns out he was being controlled by his godmother under the influence of an Italian hair comb. I mean, that's it.
No, that's it. You covered it all. That's it.
When you put it like that, it sounds stupid as hell, doesn't it?
It truly does. I mean, I think what's interesting about, because this is an hour and a half pilot.
There's like 2 cases, kind of.
Well, there's essentially, like, the first half of the episode is, like, bringing your 2 leads into the world. So they have their first case where they get introduced into, like, hey, guess what? World's full of weird shit. World's magic. Now you know.
And then they have to do the case of the week after that.
Yeah. Which I feel like ordinarily we would just smush those into 2 different episodes.
Yeah. I can see why they wanted to do it like this, though. Because you do want to... Because, I mean, you do have to introduce them to the world and all that. But you also do kind of want to be like, this is what the show's going to be like. So.
Right. Which is why pilots are tricky.
I imagine, like, if it airs in syndication, they probably do split it into 2. They generally do that with longer episodes like this.
Where did we watch it?
I mean, we watched it streaming.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
It's streaming somewhere. I forget where we watched it. Was it Freevee?
I think so.
It's streaming somewhere. You guys can watch it. So you watched it when it originally aired?
Yeah. I mean, the chances that I, like, watched the pilot when it originally aired and watched it straight through seem very slim. So I couldn't tell you, like, what episode I picked up on.
I know at some point you rewatched it because you were watching it while I was at work.
But yeah, I did rewatch because I never watched the final season. And I don't remember why. I don't remember if I had just sort of, never picked it back up when it came back on. But I'd always meant to finish it. And it's one of those things where it's like, I waited so long to finish it that if I had just picked it back up, I wouldn't remember anything. And so that became my, like, I'm at home alone without Joe and I'm going to watch TV, which normally I don't because normally we watch all the same things.
But you didn't finish the rewatch. You didn't get through the last season because then we started watching it together. We watched it and Eureka at the same time because I'm weird.
Because I don't know if you know this, but Joe really likes watching things in order.
And there are crossovers with Eureka, and they are not that important.
I tried telling you this.
What's weird is when they do have Eureka crossovers, but before they have Eureka crossovers, they have Eureka actors on Warehouse 13 as different characters. And not just like, there's one episode that has two actors from Eureka that are like in a relationship together. They're in a relationship together on Warehouse 13. It's like, they're like, oh look, it's so weird.
But
it's so weird.
There's every possibility that my rewatch might have been the first time I ever saw the pilot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I will say, Eureka and Warehouse 13 do have this weird, like, relationship in terms of quality. Where there was a point where, like, because Joe and I were watching them, you know, together in order, I was like, do they share writers?
I don't think they do.
Because there would be times where it's like, Warehouse 13's really picking up in quality and really getting good and engaging.
And Eureka's dipping.
Where Eureka is backsliding. And vice versa. Mm-hmm. To the point where I was like, they're both sci-fi shows, or it's like, is one of them like getting resources and pulling resources away from the other? Because it wasn't ever like, oh yeah, like Warehouse 13 is consistently better than Eureka. It was like they were on a teeter-totter and could not both be up at the same time.
I wonder if it's if part of that could be just that we are comparing and contrasting them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, you're gonna just do that because we were watching them simultaneously. And it might not have been the case if we just binge watched it.
That's absolutely fair, yeah.
We're judging it against something instead of just judging it for what it is. But I'd always wanted to watch it, but I never had because it had been airing for a while. And I was like, oh, well, if I watch it, I want to start from the beginning. And then we finally watched it together. But I'd always wanted to see it because I knew it starred Eddie McClintock, who I really liked, on a show like very few people have heard of, called Stark Raving Mad. And he was really, really funny on that. He was basically like the comedy sidekick. It was a sitcom starring Tony Shalhoub and Neil Patrick Harris. Tony Shalhoub was like this horror writer, and he was like this gross dude. He was always playing pranks and stuff. And Neil Patrick Harris was his like uptight, neurotic agent, like trying to make him right.
Every time you've described this to me, I think that's so hilarious because of the like...
They went on to roles that made them super popular. For opposite reasons.
For completely, yeah, who are like completely swapped in those dynamics. And I think that's very funny.
Yeah, because Tony Shalhoub went to Monk and Neil Patrick Harris went to Barney. I mean, they were famous before Stark Raving Man, but like, you know, they went on to really popular roles that were the opposite of their characters.
I would say roles that now would probably define them as far as like actors.
And you know what? Even like Eddie McClintock, because he was, you know, he wasn't the lead. He was just this comedy side character. He was like Kramer or something, you know? And then he went on to be leading action man guy in Warehouse 13. Though still goofy as hell.
I have to ask you, as somebody who... So you probably more recently not just saw the pilot, but like saw the show as a whole for like the first time.
Yeah.
So do you remember your like first impression of the show, like from the pilot?
I remember liking it. I think there was like some rough spots, but it's just because it's pilot stuff, you know? But I enjoyed it. I don't super remember what my initial like... I know I wasn't like blown away by it or anything, but I was like, I could see how it would be fun. I really liked the cast.
It is hard, I think, sometimes when you have like a cast-driven show like this and you're trying to explain to someone like why it's good and why they should give it a shot. Mm-hmm. And you're like, the premise is whatever. You're there to see people be friends. Like, you're there to see this cast just be very good at what they're doing.
You know what? I'll even say, like, I feel like to get into this particular episode, it doesn't help that the first half of the episode, I feel like Pete's way out of character.
Oh, yeah. I have a lot of feelings about this. So, like, on the one hand, it's a very, like, leading man thing to do, to be like, this guy is a womanizer, and that's cool. We like that about him. And on the one hand, it's like, it's a pilot, right? So you're like, this isn't the character we're used to because we're starting from a place to give that character room to grow. That's the idea. Micah and Pete are going to start by hating each other because we're going to see their relationship develop and get closer and end in a place that I choose to ignore. And in a place that doesn't make any sense because one of those characters is clearly a lesbian. Anyway. What was I saying? I got distracted by thinking about the finale.
So yeah, this is what happens. Well, it starts off with like, there's like a naked woman in Pete's bed, and then she's like talking to him, and she's like got his like a badge, a firefighter's badge, and she's like, I figured out who you are, you're a firefighter. And he's like, no. And then she's like, you know everything about me, but I don't know anything about you. And he's like, that's because you won't stop talking, which is so gross.
Yes, there's just so many things he does. And, like, part of him and, like, Micah not getting along is that he's like,
I'm a manly man who knows things.
I don't like that a woman is in charge. And it's like,
you got all your notes and stuff. I trust my vibes.
I just trust my gut. Again, like, part of a, like, very normal dynamic, right? But it is done and played in a way that is gross.
What's wild about that, though, is in the second half, that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
He becomes like Pete, like in the second half of the episode. That antagonistic thing is away, and he's just the big goofball.
There's I can pinpoint the exact moment, too, because we both went, there he is!
It's when they show up at the warehouse?
When they show up at the warehouse, and Artie's like, you want to come in? I got cookies. And he goes, ooh, cookies! And Joe and I both went, hey, we missed you! There he is! We've been waiting for this Pete to show up, and there he is!
Because he'd just been doing the, like, I'm a Secret Service agent, and I'm cool, and I got a gun. Like,
do you know what vibe he has in the pilot?
What?
It's very X-Files.
Mulder.
Anytime Mulder is, like, where, like, the writing is writing him as kind of, like, womanizing, creepy, and it's like, but look at him! but look at him! He's just a little guy!
Yeah.
You know?
And I wonder how much of that is just Eddie McClintock bringing that to it.
Eddie McClintock could probably get away with murder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got the charm. He could get away with it.
Yeah, I think so. I feel like he brought a fun energy to it. And I imagine the writers just leaned into that, you know?
Which is like, oh, we've got to appreciate what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's good. Because, like, if he'd stayed that, like, the character that he is at the very beginning, I would have not cared
part of it is, though, like, the thing you have to remember, though, is part of it isn't, like, oh, like, he's written that way and it's a mistake. It is, like, this is a starting point for a character that's going to experience growth, right?
Right. I don't know if we ever actually see growth, necessarily, though. We just realize, oh, wait, he's not a dick.
Oh, wait, actually, this is a huge goofball.
Yeah. It's more like we peel away a layer of, like, you know, machismo, and then it's just like, there's just a goofball underneath. I mean, I'm not saying it's not terrible. It's just a little, especially considering, like, I've seen the whole show. I know what Pete is. It's a little awkward.
Not terrible. It just rubs you the wrong way as, like, being, it's like if you ever had, like, a friend, and then you, like if you watched one of my vlogs from when I was 15, and you'd be like, who the fuck is that?
Like,
and why do they have such bad opinions? That's weird. That's weird and awkward. And, like, trying to square those two versions of the same person.
Like, if you'd only watched Angel.
Yeah.
And then you watched the first episode of Wesley and Buffy. You'd be like, who? What?
Who is this?
It's like, he has an opposite, Pete.
Wesley is one of my favorite characters of all time. Of all time. And Lauren.
This Warehouse 13 podcast is going
Can
so well.
Can we talk about
characters?
Artie?
Yeah.
And how I will watch, if you would supply me with a name, I would watch him in anything. Anything, anytime. I absolutely, absolutely adore him. Plus, he's always having fun.
Saul Rubinek,
thank you.
Who you may know from Frasier. Just Frasier,
I don't.
That's it.
Just nothing else?
Nothing else. He was just in Frasier.
He was in something recently-ish, but I was just so excited to see him.
He was in, we watched him in, you're probably thinking of the Ballad of Buster Scruggs,
I think you're right.
But he was in the segment at the end when they're all on the coach. He's also in Eureka. He's in the pilot of Eureka?
Yes, he is. I forgot about that, but you're right. He is.
He's also in the pilot of Leverage, and he comes back on Leverage at least once, maybe twice, but I think just once.
I remember him showing up in Leverage and just being like, all right, I'm so happy you're here, buddy.
He's one of the Nazi hunters and hunters. He's in a lot of stuff.
Maybe we should watch Hunters.
Maybe. He's great. I love Saul Rubinek.
There's so many scenes where it's like, oh, you're making this happen. You're the reason why I'm buying in.
Yeah, he's
100%.
Fantastic actor. Again, I think the cast on this show is a lot of what elevates it quite a bit. Because you not only got Saul Rubinek as Artie, who's great.
So good.
You also have like CCH Pounder as Miss Frederick, who is also really good. She's very mysterious and, I mean, she's just great. I will say the only character I think is probably it's not even a weak point, but I don't think she ever really gets like a firm place in the show. Lena. Yeah. I like her, but she's not.
Even having, like, I remember watching the show and being, like, uncertain of who she was. Yeah. I was like, I don't understand her function. And I mean that both, like, structurally, like, storytelling-wise, and also, like, what does she do? I mean, we watched the pilot, and I was like, oh, she runs the, like...
bed and breakfast?
The bed and breakfast that everybody lives at. But, like...
And she's also psychic?
She's psychic. She does get a deal, and it is good, but it's so late in the game.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't really remember. So if we do rewatch this for a podcast, that'll be good to relearn. Let me explain because I don't think we just started talking about these characters. I don't know if we really said who they are.
You gave a summary, but it didn't include who did what, really.
Yeah, Miss Frederick is like the mysterious person from the Secret Service. Is she part of the Secret Service? It says this is part of the Secret Service.
This is another part of this show that doesn't make any sense. Yeah. All of Warehouse 13 is part of the Secret Service.
For some reason. Because all these artifacts are in danger of harming the president.
But it truly doesn't make any sense. And even, like, in the show, they're like they show up and they're like, I'm with the Secret Service. I have some questions to ask you. And they're like,
why?
Why? Why does the Secret Service care? And it's like, well, because that pen might possess you. And it's like, that doesn't make more sense.
But yeah, so Miss Frederick is like the big, like the shadowy leader of this whole department. Artie is the guy who runs the warehouse that collects all the artifacts. These artifacts, we should explain the artifacts. There's like artifacts that do special magical things, but are also generally bad.
Also, for something that is on the SyFy channel, this is not a science fiction show. The show goes out of its way to be like, how does it work? Don't make me explain it. Moving on. Like,
yeah, it's so weird that it crosses over with Eureka because it is like not at all consistent with the world of Eureka. Eureka is SyFy.
Yeah, Warehouse 13 doesn't give a damn about the mechanics of anything. It's just like, look, you can get trapped in this painting. Why? I wrote up something about a famous artist one time. It may or may not be accurate. Moving on. Like, it just doesn't... Warehouse 13 is about aesthetics and relationships, okay? Yeah. It does not care why things are happening.
So Artie is the guy who runs this huge warehouse in, was it South Dakota or North Dakota? South Dakota. He runs this huge warehouse in South Dakota that is full of all of these strange artifacts that can be neutralized with purple goo.
How does the purple goo work? Literally, Artie says, do not ask me, I do not know.
And you can hold them with purple gloves, too. Why purple is cool.
Purple, famously, makes magic not work.
And like we said, Lena is the person who runs the bed and breakfast that they live at. Which, you know, you could just rewrite this show where they just live at the warehouse. But, I mean, I feel like Artie does.
Yeah, he definitely does not live... I don't know. That's a great question.
I guess they just wanted more sets.
Although Artie's character is definitely the type of person who just, like, sleeps under his desk and never actually leaves.
It is very clear that they're filming the exterior in two different places. And there's a cow there. Does that cow ever come back?
I don't remember the cow, so I don't think so. I literally think the cow is there to set up the manure joke.
Yeah, there's a scene where Micah stands on a giant pile of shit. We haven't talked about Micah at all.
Can I be honest? It's because Micah's character is a little underwritten.
Especially in this episode. She's just there to be like, I don't want to do this.
She truly feels like she's there to be Pete's foil and not a whole lot else.
She gets like some stuff with her dead partner? Husband?
I don't remember.
I think it was a partner because, like, she thinks she got a guy killed in a previous mission thing, Secret Service thing. She feels like she did the wrong thing and he died for it. And then there's an artifact that falls in her purse that lets her see her, like, visions of her husband who tells her, like, nah, it's alright. You're good. They do, like, this fake out where you're like, it's been how many days later? Because they get in a car wreck at one point, and then she wakes up in the hospital and it's her husband is there. Or, not her husband. I don't know if it's her husband or partner. We just watched this episode and I don't know.
We'll say partner.
We'll say partner. And anyway, he's like, and then she wakes up on the road and she's still at the car accident because he's like, you've been knocked out for like 5 days. And we're like, what? Which that was pretty good. That's a pretty good twist.
Yeah. I don't know the history of the artifact in like the second half of the episode, but that plot line's so creepy.
It's the comb thing.
But it's like the guy's stepmom who becomes obsessed with him.
Godmother.
That's right.
Actually, you know what's weird about that? The woman who plays the godmother, because you're not sure who's doing evil stuff, and it turns out to be the godmother. But when I first saw the godmother, I was like, is that one of the aunts from Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
Was it?
No. Well, kind of.
Okay.
Here's the thing. I thought it was the one from the TV show that wasn't Caroline Rhea.
Yeah.
Because I know, I really liked Caroline Rhea. But she played Caroline Rhea's character in the TV movie that started the series.
Somebody else looked at her and went, yeah, they look similar, is what you're telling me.
No, she played the other aunt. She didn't play she looks like the aunt, but she played the one that Caroline Rhea wound up playing, which is weird, because she looks so much like the other aunt.
I didn't follow any of that.
You didn't?
No.
You've had too much Bud Light?
No, you're just not making any sense.
Okay, so there was the Sabrina the Teenage Witch TV movie.
Oh, don't explain it!
The godmother in this Warehouse 13 episode played Sabrina's aunt.
Yeah, totally.
And she looks like the aunt from the TV series.
Absolutely.
But she played the other aunt.
The other aunt. What? That's so wild.
It's crazy. Anyway.
Would you?
What does the comb do?
What does the comb do?
Yeah.
I think it just makes you crazy.
The other thing is a whole, like, it's like recreating a situation that happened with the person who originally
it also
had
gives
the
you
hair comb.
Crazy mind control powers.
Yeah. It's kind of like you're getting possessed by the past. It's almost like that one episode.
Getting possessed by the past. Yeah, that's Warehouse 13.
It's kind of like that one episode of Buffy where, like, they keep getting possessed by those ghosts and reliving that same moment, but with a hair comb.
but yeah, there's an object involved.
So what did you think of the episode as like a whole? Did you like the episode? What did you think? For what is probably either your second or third time, maybe fourth time watching it.
I have a hard time with anything that's over an hour, just to be honest. Like, you want to go and watch Guardians of the Galaxy as soon as we finish this podcast, and I don't want to go because I know it's a 2.5 hour movie, and I don't think movies have any business being that long. And this one has, like, very clear... I know where I would cut this to make it 2 different episodes, right?
And they probably do too, because it's probably where it's cut.
Because that's probably how it airs in syndication. But also, like, I understand the function of pilots. I understand why it's that long. Watching it definitely... Also, we had, like, a lot of things to do that day, and you were like, I just want to watch Warehouse 13 and get this podcast and get this in the can. We were, like, an hour in before we were like, oh, and we didn't know it was going to be an hour and a half. Yeah. And I have, like, other things I have to do today. None of those are, like, particularly fair criticisms. That's just me. Did you just look up the total runtime of the Blues Brothers?
Yeah, it's 2 hours and 13 minutes.
They need all that time.
Blues Brothers is one of Tony's favorite movies.
One of those hours is the car chase. And that just makes sense. I have no idea what I was saying now.
I looked up one of your other movies, and it's only an hour and a half.
Blues Brothers is one of the first movies that my dad ever told me was, like, one of his favorite movies, and I think I just was like, yes, my favorite movie.
All right.
Because that's how I function as a human being. I think pilots are a weird beast, and I'm always, like, apprehensive to watch them, because there are a lot of shows where it's like, you've got to wait a while, right? Like, you've got to put in the work to get to the good stuff. And then, like, when you go back and watch a show, you're like, I'm eating raw cookie dough. That's a bad thing, because eating raw cookie dough is great. Mm-hmm. Eating raw cookie dough is better than cookies. But you know what I mean? You're like
Yeah.
at a stage of the show that feels undone.
You're just eating the bowl of meat you take at the
at a Mongolian grill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need
You're
to cook
like,
it
you're
first.
like, I have this. These are the ingredients of a thing that I love, and it's gonna take it a while to get to a place that is
Not all the
the reason why I
ingredients-
love it.
Not all of the ingredients are even there yet.
Yeah, but I mean, and that also is fascinating too, right? Because there are also ingredients there that, like, you're like, well, that doesn't last.
Yeah.
Either, like, intentionally because, you know, we wanted to show character growth, so we started a character in a different place, or unintentionally because it was like, this actor's very good at this one thing, and now that we realize that, we're gonna write towards that. It's a living, breathing thing. And you're seeing it at its early stages. But, I mean, right off the bat, it's like, even watching the pilot, you're like, God, Artie's great.
Yeah.
Artie's so good. Pete gets on my nerves. Micah gets on your nerves. Micah's like, because Micah's whole thing is like rejecting the hero's call, right?
Right.
And like, that's annoying because I want to be watching the show where they're doing the thing.
That's why I honestly think the show is better in its second half than it is in its first half. Honestly, from the point they hit the warehouse on, it becomes much better.
Yeah, and I love how much too that Warehouse 13 is aware that it's. I like the philosophy it has towards its premise, which is like, this is set dressing for watching these people become family. How does it work? Not important. Why? Not important.
You know what I think's hilarious about this episode? There is an entire, like, B-plot going on that it's just Artie running around the warehouse. He's doing all sorts of dumb shit. He's selling the hell out of it.
Yeah, he is.
He's grabbing, like, he's...
On his CGI set.
Yeah, he's swinging down on this, like, rope thing. He's grabbing this. And all he does is he grabs a painting that literally has nothing to do. Like, it doesn't do anything. He's just like, yep, that's the person.
Oh.
And now I'm going to give you a history lesson. It literally accomplishes nothing.
Here is a thing that, like, really, really stood out watching the pilot. Watching it and being like, oh, this was made in a time before cell phones. So they have the Farnsworths, right? And it's like, two-way video communication. Whoa! And, you know, that was like a really clever bit of writing to let Artie stay in the warehouse, but also be in the show and be in the field. But also, yes, he spends so much of the time, literally he just needs to see, like, put eyes on the painting to make sure that, like, it has the comb in it. And so to, like, confirm that it's what he's thinking about. And it is, like, a significant portion of the episode. And, like, he has to bring the painting and drag it all the way back, emphasizing the size of the warehouse, again, because it's not a set. They've got...
It's a
small set, and then they
digitally made it huge.
Yeah. Yes. But I think a huge part of that scene is showing that the warehouse is huge.
Right.
But also, like... the logistics of that, like, if he had a cell phone, don't make any sense. He could have gone down there, snapped a picture, come back up. I mean...
Well, you know what, though? I'm pretty sure they do establish that you can't get a signal there.
Oh, you know what? You're right. You're right.
So the Farnsworth gets around that.
Because,
yeah.
I mean, Micah does have a cell phone.
Mm-hmm. But but it isn't like a video.
It's
cell
not,
phone,
right.
Yeah.
It's not, like, also a camera and also basically a tiny computer.
Right.
It was when cell phones were still just phones. But it is weird. Like, that was very...
That's why she's on the manure, right? Oh, God
I was
damn it.
waiting for you to say it! I was waiting for you to say it! Because now it's in the podcast and now other people are going to hear you say it. And they're going to have opinions about it. They're going to have takes.
Why did I say it? I should have just said cow shit.
Do you want to talk about it?
Manure.
Do you want to talk about it?
I say manure, but I don't know why I say manure. It's manure. I know it's manure, okay? Okay? I've heard it both ways.
Who? From who? Who in your
Me.
life have you heard say manure?
Me?
Joe,
Oh, God.
I'm sorry you guys hot. Joe, it's very sweet. Joe is very sweet, lovely person who
Thank you.
we've been reading the Queen's Thief series, and he reads them to me before bed. And he was reading one night, and he said manure, and I was like, nope, Hang on. Run that sentence back.
Is that why you said it earlier? Because you were hoping I would say it?
It was completely relevant to the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's why she's standing on the manure.
Manure.
Is because so she can get a signal on her cell phone. You know what, Wisconsin? Tony says Wisconsin.
Sometimes I feel like there needs to be a T at the end of Wisconsin. That word doesn't sound like it ends.
Wisconsin. Stop.
Now
Don't put a T at the end of it.
No,
There's no
it needs an end. It doesn't have an end.
I'm just mispronouncing a word. You could pronounce it manure.
You.
Like ensure. But you would never pronounce Wisconsin as Wisconsin because there's no T at the end of it.
Yeah, but doesn't it feel better?
So I am superior.
Doesn't it feel better if there is a T at the end? Wisconsin.
No,
it feels like you've ended the word.
No,
Wisconsin? That's the end?
Yeah.
That word is a cliffhanger.
No, it's like dropping a G.
Yeah,
hanging.
That's it, exactly. Wisconsin sounds
bouncing.
Wisconsin sounds like you've dropped the end of the word, and
then it should be Wisconsin.
All right, I'll start saying Wisconsin.
We should take a break.
I love that Star Trek does what adventure programs do. It's fun characters going on adventures, wearing colorful outfits, but it tries to be more than that. It tries to say something more about humanity and tries to encourage us to be better people.
I love that it gives a really positive and really hopeful view of the future.
I like that you never know what you get with Trek, from Captain Pike to Picard to Captain Proton.
I like the Ferengi.
Earth Station Trek, a show where we talk about Star Trek from the early days on NBC to the future on Paramount Plus and everywhere in between.
And we're back.
Welcome back. Manure.
I have nothing else to say about this episode. I mean, I will say, just to do it real quick, thought it was good. I thought the second half was better than the first half.
Yeah. I mean, once you get...
Because the second half is the show. The first half is the setup.
Yes.
But I want to do a segment. If we're going to continue the show, we're going to do this segment. I'm calling it Artie's Facts.
Okay.
About artifacts.
I loathe it. Please continue.
So I'm just going to list off all of the artifacts that were in this episode, and we're going to discuss them and whether or not you'd use them.
Ooh, I love this. Okay.
And this is, I don't know if this is, I think this is in the order that they're
in which they appear?
I think.
Okay.
Could, maybe, not entirely sure. But these are mentioned, some are seen, some are just mentioned. We have the Aztec Bloodstone.
You're gonna give me like a reminder of what all they do.
Yeah. Well, the Aztec Bloodstone is the thing at the beginning of the episode. They're doing an event with the president and cellular museum. It's a big stone head, and a guy just who's like cleaning it, drops a tool in it, reaches in with his hand and gets bit, and then becomes possessed, and the bloodstone literally bleeds. It's a bloodstone.
Teeth are crystals, none of which look sharp enough to make you bleed, by the way.
I wouldn't do it, though. And then he just becomes nuts and tries to kill people.
Does he become obsessed with, like, making a sacrifice? Is that the idea?
I think so, yeah.
I mean, 0 out of 10 would not use.
And Pete picks up on it with his vibes. That's something we didn't talk about. Pete has vibes.
Pete gets vibes.
Like, Micah is logistical and Pete has vibes. That's why they're like...
That's why they work so well together.
Yeah, they're like an Oreo cookie.
And Mrs. Frederick blatantly says this.
Yes. Okay, so you would not use the Aztec Bloodstone.
All it does is make you want to kill people. No, I already have that ability.
Next up, we have the Teslas.
Yeah, 100%. Now...
You gotta explain what a Tesla is. You can't just say what it is. You would use it or not.
Electricity gun.
It's an electricity gun.
It's a stun gun, but cooler.
It goes...
Here's the thing. Does the Tesla, like, now have kind of a brand problem? A little bit.
Oh, right, yeah.
Would I still use a gun that shoots electricity? Yes.
It's true. I mean, you have a lighter that does that.
I do have a lighter that does that. Also, there's not like an abundance of like good non-lethal self-defense weapons because a lot of non-lethal self-defense weapons are actually less lethal. Like, given the right circumstances, you could still accidentally kill someone. I've been doing research because I want something. I don't know what yet, but some sort of self-defense weapon. I would take a Tesla in a heartbeat.
And it's also one of the few artifacts that don't make you try to kill people.
Right. It's pretty much... I don't think it's...
Does it count as an artifact?
I was gonna say,
it was on the fan wiki.
I don't know if it's an artifact in that, like, it's not like it has the supernatural element. Like, it's just a gun that Tesla designed.
Yeah.
It's made up.
I'm counting it.
Okay.
There's going to be a couple others that are iffy on that. But yeah, I'd use a Tesla too. Next up, we have the Farnsworth. We have cell phones.
We have cell phones, but that's aesthetic as hell.
That's true.
It's a little metal tin. Also, I love the ring sound. The burrs.
Yeah. You could just download that as a ringtone.
I would, but I'm one of the people who just mutes my phone.
Same. I used to have the Hitchhiker's Guide.
I know. It was so fucking long.
Yeah.
And you also, not only did you have an extremely long ringtone,
it was my notification sound, and I used to get tons of text notifications from Twitter.
You were subscribed to every motherfucker on Twitter. You got notifications to everyone. When any celebrity tweeted, and it would go off, and it's like, you don't need to know when Michael Ian Black tweets.
I imagine he'd disagree with you.
I don't even think he would.
Yeah,
I think
would.
he's on my side on this one.
Michael Ian Black, let us know. Are you on Tony's side?
I would use the Farnsworth. Absolutely. Do you know how cool...
I'd use it, but I wouldn't... It's not, like, a priority for me.
Oh,
I
I would. Do you know how cool I would feel, like, pulling it out at a party and being like, I love it.
And everybody be like, I have an iPhone.
It's the aesthetics, man. Are you... It's the steampunk...
Can you play Candy Crush on it?
I'm not giving up my cell phone is the thing.
That's true.
I would have my cell phone and a cool tin that could make phone calls.
So you'd lose both of them. Tony loses.
That felt like an unnecessary shot.
Okay. Well, this is just because you attacked me with the manure.
You brought it up.
God,
you said it, and I was just supposed to let it stand?
Yeah.
What's the next one?
An American football.
Here's the thing. I have, like, a vague memory that, like, that gets more of an explanation as to what the fuck it is, and I cannot remember. So I will say I do not have enough information. Will you explain?
When Pete, I think it's just Pete, gets there to begin with, he is almost hit by a football that just flies at the warehouse. And then Micah gets there, and Artie takes him inside, and then he heads back. He's like, hold on, and he heads back outside, and he just chucks the football. And it just circles the earth, I guess? I'm not sure.
It does get explained later on, and I can't remember what it is, and I can't remember what it steals.
But it's just a football you throw that goes for a very long ways and then comes back.
I think, like, it needs to go. Like, if it's sitting still, that's when it becomes a problem. But I also don't remember.
I'd chuck it, though. That'd be fun.
All right.
Next, we have the wand, or I put in parentheses, fish fixer, because when we see Artie, he's at the warehouse, like they're outside the warehouse, and he shows up, and he's got this, like, wand, and they're like, what is that for? And he's like, oh, it's fixing fish with it. And it does not get explained what it does. I don't think it ever does.
I don't remember this.
It's like when they're walking down the hallway.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Which he's like, be careful of the explosives.
That's true.
And that pays off way later.
Way to set some shit up, Warehouse 13. 10 out of 10.
I mean, it's like a safety precaution thing. But yeah, those explosives are check off the hell.
Also, it is great to, like, establish a place and just to have a character say to another character very casually, don't lean on the bombs.
Yeah.
And then the other character be like, okay.
But he's got, like, this big... It looks like a metal detector type of thing, but he was using it to fix fish. Or a fish, the fish. I don't know.
I don't actually... I remember, like, the wand, but I don't remember the line of dialogue.
No.
And that's deeply funny. Again, don't have enough information to say it, do I?
I'd use it.
Do what?
I want to fix the fish. I don't know what it means. I want to learn. I'm Pete. You're Micah. Next up, we have Thomas Edison's bioelectric vehicle.
Do you know what's so funny about that? Mm-hmm. Is that so the deal with the vehicle is that you have to
touching it.
Both have to be touching the bar because that's what powers it. It uses your body to generate electricity. And then later on in the episode, when Artie is in the warehouse by himself and they only have that vehicle, apparently, to navigate the giant warehouse. They have that vehicle and one hang glider, or one zip line.
Yeah.
And that's it. And he just is like, fuck this. And, like, hooks a battery up to the bar to get it to run like a normal vehicle. And I think that's deeply funny. Then it's like, here's this crazy whimsical thing. We're in Warehouse 13. Ooh. And then later it's like, this is not practical. You know, it would be great if we had a regular ass golf cart. I love that. There's I said a Terry Pratchett quote about like the dragon that sits on your shoulder also shits down your back. And that's what, like...
That sounds like Terry Pratchett.
And that's what, like, good fantasy, like, explores both. Someone's gonna have to, like, find the actual quote for me.
Michael Ian Black, fact check us.
But it has that vibe of, like, yes, it is whimsical and it set up this joke. And also, if you think about it for more than a second, it's wildly impractical and doesn't make any sense. I love being able to acknowledge both sides of those things. You have the one joke, and then you have the follow-up later on of, like, this stupid piece of shit.
So would you use it?
No, I'd probably be like Artie and hook up a real-ass battery to it.
You wouldn't want to use it just to try it out?
Sure. For the novelty of it once.
Yeah, you seem less into this, and this is the exact same thing as the Farnsworth, just on a bigger level. Because we have a thing that's better. A cell phone. We have a thing that's better. A golf cart.
Here's the thing. I don't, need a golf cart.
Though I imagine this thing is more, environmentally friendly than a golf cart.
You know what? That's actually a great point. Yes, I would use it. And save the environment. And then I'd be a hero.
Yeah, we should just get rid of anything, sort of technology, and replace it with human labor.
Okay, what's the next one?
Harry Houdini's wallet. That's the thing that falls into Micah's purse that lets her see dead people.
What's the justification for that?
He's dead? I don't know. The ghost is escaping death.
God bless Warehouse 13. I also didn't notice there was a close-up on the nameplate of Harry Houdini's wallet at some point in the show, and I was like, why are we staying on that nameplate for so long? Because I didn't realize it was the thing that fell into her purse.
Yes.
I was like, we're establishing the hell out of Harry Houdini's wallet for some reason.
It possesses the power of charonic transfer, allowing the bearer to see and hear visions of dead people. The wallet was obtained 3 days after Houdini's death.
Do you know what's so funny about that, too? Is that,
its artifact nature is explained in the season 4 premiere, New Hope, the football.
Oh. Yeah. So I knew it came back up. I think what's funny about that, too, is, Harry Houdini, if I recall correctly, is by, all means, not a mystic person at all. Was hardcore a skeptic, right?
He would frequently tell, Arthur Conan Doyle,
I was gonna say,
it's not real magic, you fool.
And Arthur Conan Doyle would be like, I don't know why you're pretending not to be a real wizard when I know you are. It's funny to me that, he would
have an artifact. Yeah.
In the same way that I find Sir Arthur Conan Doyle deeply funny for the opposite reason. For being so famous for creating this logical, skeptical character when he's like, I'm 99% sure fairies are real and you cannot tell me that they're not. What a fascinating guy.
You can see and hear visions of dead people. Would you use it?
Why does Harry Houdini's wallet do that?
I don't know, but it does. Again, I think it's you're escaping death.
Is it a monkey's paw situation, though?
There didn't seem to be any negative consequences.
Is it?
But
and it seemed like it was really them. I don't know. This is a fact about me. I don't know a lot of people who have passed away.
What if you use it and you're just visited by visions of Harry Houdini?
I would use it just to overhear a conversation between Houdini and Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Just to be a fly on that wall, sure.
Okay. I don't know if I'd use it, because I don't remember. I think it was hinted at that there are negative consequences, because Artie gets it back and, neutralizes it without Micah even knowing about it, I believe. He, finds it. Or maybe Lena finds it. I don't remember. But, I don't know. I don't believe in ghosts.
It would have no effect on you because you don't believe in ghosts.
No.
Okay.
I don't know if there's anybody dead I'd really want to talk to either. So maybe. I don't know. I can't think of anybody, so it's
Right.
I'm sure, like, if I could, like, think of somebody, I'd be like, oh. Like, and that's the thing is, I don't think you have any control over who it is.
Right. And it just seems like it's a fridged person in your life.
Yeah. It was her partner, not her husband. I don't know why I thought husband. I think it is because he's fridged. And that's who it is, usually is a love interest. And I don't think it was a love interest. It was just her partner.
No, they didn't. They dated.
They did? Okay.
You don't call somebody bunny.
That's unprofessional.
You don't call somebody bunny in a professional partnership.
You don't like date people you work with.
No, because then they die.
Toni and I have worked together at 2 different places.
3.
3?
Well, we didn't work at... No, you're right. We didn't work at one of them at the same time.
What?
We both worked at the print shop.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's true.
But
yeah,
not,
we didn't.
But not at the same time.
Next up, we have the tea kettle. The kettle can move around unnoticed. It sneaks into Pete's hand while Artie explains the warehouse's function. The kettle grants wishes, but if someone makes a wish that cannot be granted, the kettle produces a ferret instead. Nobody knows why it does this.
Again, I don't know the consequences.
I mean, you just heard the consequences. You either get a wish granted, or you get a ferret.
Yeah, but you don't get a free wish. That's just not how the world works.
I mean, Artie said they tried to use it a lot, and they just got a lot of ferrets.
Got a lot
I think
of
it's like...
That has to be, like, very specific.
Mm-hmm. I think it's got to be something that is possible. Like, you know, you can't just be like, I want $1 million. It's going to be, you know, I think it's going to grant you something that's not going to, like, fundamentally change the world or something. I don't know.
I would argue that me having $1 million would not fundamentally change the world.
Fundamentally change your world. I don't know.
I think I would use it extensively just to figure out the boundaries and the logic behind how it works. And then I would, I don't know, start selling ferrets?
I would definitely use it, because even if your wish doesn't get granted, hey, ferrets are cool.
Yeah. They stink. So I've been told. I've never had one. But like
I used to have a ferret.
Every single time anyone I know who's been like, I had a ferret, it was really cute. They smell. Like, that's the exact way the conversation goes every time.
I mean, we kept ours outside, so.
Because it stank?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's cute.
But it was cute.
It goes, and like wiggles all over, and it's adorable.
This is every single person I know who's ever had a ferret. That's their opinion. Cute as hell. Smelled.
But yeah, I would also try to test out the limits of the tea kettle. Next up, we have the Mayan calendar. Artie states that 2 warehouse agents had their clocks stopped with this artifact, implying that they're still alive but wish they won't be in 100 years. Not shown but mentioned.
I'm gonna go with a no.
Yeah, he's like,
He looks
just saying so much goofy shit, but so seriously, and you're like, oh, that's terrifying.
It is. I know we've talked about, like, that Artie sells shit in a way that is like, if it was someone else who couldn't, the show would be worse. But this is one of the scenes that is so good.
Because what he's talking about is fundamentally goofy, but the way he says it, you're like, that's terrifying.
Yes.
Because they're like Pete and Mike are like, this is silly, and he's like, no, it's not.
It's dangerous and scary. I mean, and that's part of his thing, especially in season 1, right? Is like, Warehouse 13 is dangerous, and he doesn't want to have other agents because he's been there a long time, and a lot of other people aren't there anymore.
Or their clocks are stopped.
Terrible things happen to people who work there. And, like, the fact that he's able to sell that in such a small scene, what's happening in that scene for him and what's happening in that scene for, like, Pete and Micah are so 2 completely different things. But the fact that, like, you can watch that and see them both, like, sort of run into each other, amazing. Beautiful. Love it. Wouldn't use the Mayan calendar.
I wouldn't either.
Don't want to get stuck in time.
Next up, we have Lucrezia Borgia's, I hope that's how you pronounce it, comb. It transmits the famous Italian murderess's mindset through the crystals in the comb. It also gives the bearer the ability to control others' actions using an Italian phrase as a phonetic trigger. I forgot about that, yeah.
I'm gonna go with no.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with no, too. Yeah, I forgot, like, it also apparently grants people superpowers, because, like, when they get there, the guy that beat his girlfriend and is like, he wouldn't do that sort of thing, and he doesn't even remember it. Mm-hmm. He's like handcuffed in the police station, right? Mm-hmm. And he starts chanting. He just starts saying that Italian phrase. I don't remember what it was. But he, like, flips the whole table and, like, breaks the handcuffs. I guess it just makes you super powerful, too. I don't know. And, like, wind is blowing everywhere.
Again, it's not important.
It's not important. And also, there's a really creepy, terrifying scene where a guy just casually, the teacher, the Italian, I think he's like, teaches Italian or something. I don't know. He's from the college. And he just casually walks out to this gas station, pulls the gas pump, pours the gasoline over himself, and sets himself on fire.
Which is like a fucking brutal moment.
This is completely unrelated, but I just remembered that Pete stole a cookie.
He did!
From a, like, place that sells cookies. He straight up stole it.
Rude as fuck.
Pay for that.
Pay for that cookie.
You got money. You're in the Secret Service.
You can afford
a
it.
Cookie. Sorry. It just popped in my head. All right, so you would not use the cow. Fair enough.
I'm going to know.
I'm going to know, too. This is the final Artie fact. Pandora's box. Artie briefly mentions that Pandora's box is kept in aisle 989B of Warehouse 13.
Son of a
it's
bitch.
empty.
Is that why his name is Artie?
I know. I thought of that, and I was like, is that why he's Artie? And he delivers the facts about the artifacts?
If it is, don't tell me.
Michael Ian
don't
Black,
wanna know.
fact check us.
Stop talking to Michael Ian Black.
Or Eddie McClintock, you might be listening. You seem like the kind of person that's probably listening to a podcast where we talk about you. I don't mean that in a rude way.
How do you mean it, Joseph?
No, he just seems like a cool dude.
Uh-huh.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, good save.
Yeah. He seems really nice. I met him. He was really nice.
He
gave me a
did
hug.
seem really nice at Dragon Con.
But yeah, if you let us know if he's named Artie because of Artie facts.
I don't want to know. If that's
I want to know.
If that's the truth, I'm better off not knowing it.
But yeah, the box is empty. So I don't know. You couldn't use it, I guess. It's been used. It was a one-use item, and it's used. Now, if it had not been used, and I was given the chance to use it, I wouldn't, and I'd save us all these problems.
But then we wouldn't have hope.
We wouldn't have hope.
No.
I don't know the story.
You
well
don't know.
enough. My mom? My mom's name is Hope. Why wouldn't we have my mom? If we didn't have my mom, we wouldn't have me.
Hope
you can't have that.
Hope is the last thing in the box.
Oh.
All these bad things, but then also there's hope.
Why can't we just take the hope but leave the bad things?
I think they're part and parcel.
That's some poor packaging.
I think that's kind of the idea.
I don't get it. It's a terrible business.
You wouldn't need hope, would you? If there were no problems. What would you hope about?
Well, if there's no problems, why would we need hope? Yeah, like, that's fine then.
Okay. I feel now like we need to end this and then go read the story of Pandora's box.
All right. But, yeah, I think that's it. Before we go, I want to discuss some things.
Came at me with a weird energy, but go on.
So, this is the final bonus pilot we're doing before we jump into New Who with Rose. And I just want to talk a little bit because we've been discussing it, and I hope you guys have enjoyed these pilots. First off, I want to say special thanks to Steve Conway, who is our newest Patreon patron.
Thank you, Steve Conway.
I urge you who are listening to these podcasts and enjoy them to also become a Patreon patron. Because if you do that, we're going to make more podcasts. I've figured out a mathematical system. Okay, so for $3 a month, you get bonus episodes. As it stands right now, they come out whenever I can get them out, whenever I work on them. But if we hit $100 a month on our Patreon, I will ensure that the bonus episodes are monthly, that they will come out once a month. Guaranteed, if we can hit that goal. And we're very close to it. We're at like $78 a month right now.
And that number, where we got it, that's how much income we would need to replace versus how much time Joe spends editing.
Right.
Like, that's a very real number that lets us do work.
And like, that's, again, it's still going to be on the same schedule I'm on now, but I just want to hit that. That seems like a close enough goal to hit that I will ensure that we do one bonus episode a month at $100. At $150, because I calculated a day of work at where I'm at now is $75 a day. So if I could get $75 from where we're at now, which is around $75, so $150, I could take a day a month off from work to work on the podcast. And if we get to $150, we will do a monthly podcast of Walk With Me. We will do the hiking podcast once a month. And that will be in addition to Rassilon. At $200 a month, I will do 2 bonus episodes a month, bi-weekly. And by the way, it's going to be a lot of like expanded Doctor Who stuff, but it could be anything. We might do other stuff, like maybe if we watch a movie and want to talk about it, or if the new Doctor Who episode drops and we want to talk about whatever new Who content is out, we'll do stuff on that. But that's what the bonus episodes will be, and those are $3 a month. Real cheap. So that's what we'll do. But at $100, I'll do 1. At $200 a month, we'll do 2. And at $225, which is 75 from 150, right? I could take another day off a month from work, and we will do... This one is going to be up to you guys. We'll throw up a poll. We'll either make Walk With Me bi-weekly, or we'll do another monthly podcast. We'll throw up a poll, and you can choose from one of these pilots.
One of the pilots.
Yeah, Star Trek, Farscape, Ninja Turtles, Warehouse 13. What else did we do? Like 7. So we'll throw up a poll and you can choose from those. And then every $75 after that, we'll throw up the poll again, and you can make one of those monthly podcasts bi-weekly, or we can throw in another monthly podcast.
Yeah.
That seems fair and logical to me. Because like watching the things and recording the podcast honestly doesn't take that much time, but the editing and the production part of it, because like recording it takes an hour and a half. Watching it takes however long the thing we're watching is. The hike takes...
hour and a half?
Yeah. The production part of it takes quite a bit of time, especially because I tend to edit these pretty tightly, because I want us to sound smarter than I am. Not than smarter than you are, because you're pretty smart. I'm dumb as dirt. Manure. But yeah, so that's the plan. So if we can hit $100... guaranteed monthly bonus episode. $150, we'll do Walk With Me monthly. $200, 2 bonus episodes a month. And $225, either another monthly podcast, or we'll do Walk With Me bi-weekly. That's up to you guys. And then every $75 after that, we'll just throw in more stuff. So tell your friends. And if you liked this episode of the podcast, you can check out more on WatchYourRassilon.com. You can also find our podcast, our Patreon, and more at Linktree/Watch-A-Thon. And I want to give a special shout out to Vince and EL for providing us with our amazing theme song.
Thank you, Vince.
Check out more of their music at vincentel.bandcamp.com. And tune in next time when we talk about Rose.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we're coming back to the Who.
Do you know what's crazy is that Rose just feels like we're more classic Who.
Right? At this time it is. Like when did that even, when did that episode air? That was like 2005. So that's...
I was still in high school.
Jeez. It's 18 years.
Oh my god.
18 years ago. This show is an adult now.
This show is fully grown.
This show can vote. All right. But until next time, keep calm and wrestle on.
Goodbye, and I love you in a platonic, parasocial way.
Wait. What? You're giving me a wedgie.
What? This has been a broadcast of the ESO Network. Be part of the crew and help support our shows by donating to our ESO Patreon or by shopping at the TeePublic store, which can all be found at www.esonetwork.com. The ESO Network, your station for all things geek.